Now for over an hour, hour and 15 minutes broadcasting live. We haven't gone to one break. We're going to go to some breaks a little bit later, but we just want to get to this verdict being read out from the people in Clayton at the, I guess it's the St. Louis County Justice Center. Is that correct, Joe? Is that what it's called?
Roger that, Rob. It is the Clayton Justice Center.
It looks like we're going to it right now, guys. Bring up that feed.
Okay. Hey.
With that.
Sorry.
But first and foremost, I'd like to again extend my deepest sympathies to the family of Michael Brown. As I've said in the past, I know that regardless of the circumstances here, they lost a loved one to violence. And I know that the pain that accompanies such a loss knows no bounds. On August 9th, Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson. Within minutes, various accounts of the incident began appearing on social media, accounts filled with speculation and little, if any, solid, accurate information. Almost immediately, neighbors began gathering and anger began growing because of the various descriptions of what had happened and because of the underlying tension between the police department and a significant part of the neighborhood. The St. Louis County Police conducted an extensive investigation at the crime scene, at times under very trying circumstances, interrupted at least once by random gunfire. Beginning that day and continuing for the next 3 months, along with the agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation at the direction of Attorney General Eric Holder, located numerous individuals and gathered additional evidence and information.
There it is on Drudge.
Fully aware of the unfounded but growing concern in some parts of our community that the investigation and review of this tragic death might not be full and fair, I decided immediately that all of the physical evidence gathered, all people claiming to have witnessed any part or all of the shooting, and any and all other related matters would be presented to the grand jury. Grand juries of 12 members of this community selected by a judge in May of this year, long before this shooting occurred. I would like to briefly expand upon the unprecedented cooperation between the local and the federal authorities. When Attorney General Holder first announced the federal investigation just days after the shooting, he pledged that federal investigators would be working with local authorities as closely as possible at every step of the way and would follow the facts wherever they may take us. As General Holder and I both pledged, our separate investigations followed that trail of facts with no preconceived notion of where that journey would take us. Our only goal was that our investigation would be thorough and complete to give the grand jury, the Department of Justice, and ultimately the public all available evidence to make an informed decision. All evidence obtained by federal authorities was immediately shared with St. Louis County investigators. Likewise, all evidence gathered by St. Louis County Police was immediately shared with the federal investigators. Additionally, the Department of Justice conducted its own examination of all the physical evidence and performed its own autopsy. Another autopsy was performed at the request of the Brown family, and all of this information was also shared. Just as importantly, all testimony before the St. Louis County grand jury was immediately provided to the Department of Justice. So although the investigations are separate, both the local and the federal government have all of the same information and evidence. Our investigation and presentation of the evidence to the grand jury in St. Louis County has been completed. The most significant challenge encountered in this investigation has been the 24-hour news cycle and its insatiable appetite for something, for anything, to talk about, following closely behind with the nonstop rumors on social media. I recognize, of course, that the lack of accurate detail surrounding the shooting frustrates the media and the general public and helps breed suspicion among those already distrustful of the system. Yet those closely guarded details, especially about the physical evidence, give law enforcement a yardstick for measuring the truthfulness of witnesses. Eyewitness accounts must always be challenged and compared against the physical evidence. Many witnesses to the shooting of Michael Brown made statements inconsistent with other statements they made and also conflicting with the physical evidence. Some were completely refuted by the physical evidence. As an example, before the results of the private autopsy were released, witnesses on social media, during interviews with the media, and even during questioning by law enforcement, claimed that they saw Officer Wilson stand over Michael Brown and fire many rounds into his back. Others claimed that Officer Wilson shot Mr. Brown in the back as Mr. Brown was running away. However, once the autopsy findings were released showing that Michael Brown had not sustained any wound to the back of his body, no additional witnesses made such a claim, and several witnesses adjusted their stories in subsequent statements. Some even admitted that they did not witness the event at all, but merely repeated what they heard in the neighborhood or others or assumed had happened. Fortunately for the integrity of our investigation, almost all initial witness interviews, including those of Officer Wilson, were recorded. The statements and the testimony of most of the witnesses were presented to the grand jury before the autopsy results were released by the media, and before several media outlets published information and reports that they received from a D.C. government official. The jurors were therefore, prior to the time that released information going public and what followed in the news cycle, the jurors were able to have already assessed the credibility of the witnesses, including those witnesses whose statements and testimony remained consistent throughout every interview and were consistent with the physical evidence in this case. My two assistants began presenting to the grand jury on August 20th. The evidence was presented in an organized and orderly manner. The jurors gave us a schedule of when they could meet. All 12 jurors were present for every session, and all 12 jurors heard every word of testimony and examined every item of evidence. Beginning August 20th and continuing until today, the grand jury worked tirelessly to examine and re-examine all of the testimony of the witnesses and all of the physical evidence. They were extremely engaged in the process, asking questions of every witness, requesting specific witnesses, requesting specific information, and asking for certain physical evidence. They met on 25 separate days in the last 3 months, heard more than 70 hours of testimony from about 60 witnesses, and reviewed hours and hours of recordings of media and law enforcement interviews by many of the witnesses who testified. They heard from 3 medical examiners and experts on blood, DNA, toxicology, firearms, and drug analysis. They examined hundreds of photographs, some of which they asked be taken. They examined various pieces of physical evidence. They were instructed on the law and presented with 5 indictments ranging from murder in the first degree to involuntary manslaughter. Their burden was to determine, based upon all of the evidence, if probable cause exists to believe that a crime was committed and that Darren Wilson is the person who committed that crime. There is no question, of course, that Darren Wilson caused the death of Michael Brown by shooting him, but the inquiry does not end there. The law authorizes a law enforcement officer to use deadly force in certain situations. The law also allows all people to use deadly force to defend themselves in certain situations. So the grand jury considered whether Wilson was the initial aggressor in this case, or whether there was probable cause to believe that Darren Wilson was authorized as a law enforcement officer to use deadly force in this situation, or if he acted in self-defense. I detail this for 2 reasons. First, so that everyone will know that, as promised by me and Attorney General Holder, there was a full investigation and presentation of all evidence and appropriate instruction of law to the jury, to the grand jury. Second, as a caution to those in and out of the media who will pounce on a single sentence or a single witness and decide what should have happened in this case based on that tiny bit of information. The duty of the grand jury is to separate fact from fiction. After a full and impartial and critical examination of all the evidence in the law, and decide if that evidence supported the filing of any criminal charges against Darren Wilson. They accepted and completed this monumental responsibility in a conscientious and expeditious manner. It is important to note here and say again that they are the only people who have heard and examined every witness and every piece of evidence. They discussed and debated the evidence among themselves before arriving at their collective decision. After their exhaustive review of the evidence, the grand jury deliberated over 2 days, making their final decision. They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments. The physical and scientific evidence examined by the grand jury, combined with the witness statements supported and substantiated by that physical evidence, tells the accurate and tragic story of what happened.
So
a very general
now the crowd has
synopsis of
heard
the
what's going
testimony and
on,
the physical evidence presented to the grand jury follows.
Keep this up,
Please
guys.
note that as I have promised,
and then let's go to a shot. If y'all can put me in a split screen with one of our cameras. So the official word has been read out that there will be no indictment after a long explanation from Robert McCullough, who is the prosecutor. And he's given the word. It looks like people are starting to file out. Joe, can you hear me? What's the mood like right now? It looks like people are moving away quickly.
Yeah, people are running all over the place.
Have you heard any yells or screaming or chanting or anything?
Everybody just screamed. Everybody just screamed and bottles just started flying.
Wow.
Cars are trying to get out of the area.
What's Jakari's...
People are screaming and cussing right now, and it's not looking good.
Right. And where's Jakari in all this?
He's standing right in front of me.
Okay. Oh, that's him. Okay. Can y'all bring in Jakari's audio feed so we can hear what's going on the streets?
It's probably not good for him to get close to anything right now.
Okay. He's just got the better audio. Okay.
People are looking like they're having panic attacks and on the ground right now.
Really? Well, this is live news as it's unfolding. We have our 2 reporters on the ground there, Jakari Jackson and Joe Biggs. And,
cars are speeding off with people hanging out the side.
And drove west.
There's been, on the police scanner, there's people talking about people in vehicles driving up and down the road with the guns hanging out the side. You can hear glass bottles breaking everywhere right now.
Yeah, people are angry. What are those the people with the yellow shirts? Are they observers?
Amnesty Now.
Okay. Yeah, so those are observers. We saw them last time you guys were there when all the events took place. Have you seen any police presence at this point?
Very light, very few. Most of them are staying inside. I saw one guy in full riot gear peek his head out, and then he looked and saw the crowd, and then that didn't last too long. Now people are running towards the police station.
Okay, let's pan over and see if we can see what's going on there. Does it look like they're about to vandalize the police station, or?
It doesn't look good at all. All the riot police are running up now.
Okay.
They were standing far back. I couldn't see them.
Whoever's got the clearer shot, go to that one. What's Jakari's shot look like? And if y'all could get audio on Jakari, go ahead and try to feed audio into his. Did he get disconnected?
Who?
Jakari's shot. Ah, okay.
People are running up screaming to the police station right now.
Well, can you get a little closer without getting in any danger?
Officer Wilson.
I'll try.
At an angle, blocking their path and blocking the flow of traffic.
Okay.
Several cars approach from both.
Y'all can kill the prosecutor's testimony. I think we're done with CNN. So what right now? So we're looking at cop block. Okay, and then where's Biggs at? Looks like he's upside down now.
I shouldn't be.
No, not you. The other guy. Is anything going on? Are the cops standing out front? Is that what's going on? Tell us what you see, Joe.
Yeah, there's tons of them out there now.
Hey, Jakari's recording this on video, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Make sure he's recording. You never know, in the heat of the moment, he might have forgotten.
I don't know where he went. He
They don't
took
see
off
him?
as soon as everybody started running towards the police station.
Okay. Well, hey, as soon as Jakari's line comes back, you guys sync back into him as well. Or maybe somebody text him, see if he can restart it. Sometimes it takes that. I'm sure there's a lot of tweets going out now.
Hey, we're trying to get Jakari's feed back up. We haven't been able to establish a good connection just yet.
Okay. Do we
But
have
I'm
it?
sure-
We have another. We also have the iPhone Ustreams. Joe, you're still with us on Skype.